today again for another edition of the Construction and Trades virtual series. I'm going to be your moderator today. My name is Kevin Comerford. I am the Director of Professional Development at the Construction Advancement Foundation of Northwest Indiana. For those of you that are not familiar with the Construction Advancement Foundation, we are a union contractor trade association. We have over 500 local contractor members. A big part of what I do in my position as Director of Professional Development is I do a lot of workforce development initiatives. And that's what we're doing here today is we're trying to get people interested in the building and construction trades. And before I move on, if you have any questions, there is a chat feature in your Zoom. So if you have any questions, just please ask them through the chat function. I will be monitoring the chat, and I will ask those questions of both our apprenticeship coordinator, Paul Tran, who's going to be joining us today, and Dana Wennerberg, and she's a first-year apprentice. So real quick, before I get into the interview, I just want to thank the Center of Workforce Innovations and the Northwest Indiana Workforce Board. Without their help, we would not be able to educate you on the construction trades. So a big thank you and a big shout out to both Barb Grimsgard and Aaron Manny. So thank you for all that you do. So I think we're going to go ahead and just get right into the questions. And I'm going to start it off with Paul Tran. And I've known Paul Tran for quite a number of years, and I think you'll tell by this interview that he's real excited about what he does. And I'm sure that's going to shine through in this interview. So Paul, are you there?
Yeah, hi, Kev. First off, thank you everybody for inviting us out for this opportunity. It's great to have this chance to talk to all these prospective candidates that are interested in a trade career. And also thank you to Dana, who's one of our first year apprentices, who's been able to make it out today.
Well, thanks for that. And so, you know, I kind of want to know a little bit about your background and, you know, how you got into the construction trades and how you got specifically into the technical engineers, and then maybe even take it one step further. How did you get into your role as apprenticeship coordinator?
Okay, so that's a long story. Depends on how long you have, I guess. But I'll try to make it as quick and as painless as possible. But I've always sort of had an interest in construction. Growing up, I was a really big fan of Lego. I really enjoyed it, and growing up, I kind of wanted to become a Lego engineer. I looked into it, and I realized it's actually extremely difficult to become a Lego engineer. You have to leave the country, and you have to move there to do all the training and everything. And so I looked at the situation and decided, well, if I can't do that for a job, what's the next best thing? And it turns out construction is exactly the same as Lego. It's just on a bigger scale. And so that's kind of how I got the idea to get involved in construction, because I enjoyed building things with my hands. And I assume, like most young folks out there, you don't really have an idea of what you want to do, okay? It is difficult to decide when you're so young, you don't know what you want to do. You have your passions and you think that you could make a career out of it. A lot of the times it works, and a lot of the times you're unsuccessful. A good piece of advice I like to give to folks is don't necessarily follow your passion, follow your skill set, okay? So like I said, I wanted to become an engineer and build products for Lego, but that was my passion. It wasn't my skill set. Turns out my skill set is actually putting things together using my hands, computer design, detailing, all that stuff. And so I went with that route. As far as ending up as a technical engineer, what that came about when I talked to my career advisor. I let them know the type of things that I wanted to do. I let them know that I needed a physical outdoor job that still used my brain and my mind to solve complex problems. And they came up with the suggestion that maybe I should consider becoming a construction surveyor, which is a technical engineer. And I'm glad I took their advice on that, because I went to trade college, I went to technical college for it. I graduated with my certification, my diploma in mine and engineering surveying. And to just rewind a little bit from that, as you could probably tell, I grew up in Australia. So I graduated in around 2005, just when the recession was about to start kicking off for the United States. But back home in Australia, there was a lot of resource work still going on. China, India, Japan, they still wanted all the raw natural resources, iron ore, gas, etc. So Australia was a great place to grow up or to live if you wanted a career in construction. So I graduated. I managed to get a job straight away in the construction industry, putting together the biggest mine site for gold in the Southern Hemisphere. I believe that job was called Boddington. So I went through that job over there, but what was happening, because there was such a huge demand for natural resources around the world, we were on an accelerated construction program. So that meant that every a mine site that might take you 5 to 10 years to build was put on a rapid growth plan instead. So instead of taking 10 years to build a mine site, we were doing it in 2 years. So in the space of 10 years, I collected at least 5 projects under my belt. So I was very lucky. Within 10 years, I was able to gain 30 years worth of experience just because of the location that I was at. After about 10 years in industry, I started to notice myself burning out, which is a real thing, especially in trades and construction. A lot of folks will burn out if they work too hard. So I decided to take some time off. I went to Canada for a little bit, met some friends over there, and I just started asking around looking for work. And I managed to get into contact with Walsh Construction. They were branching out into Canada. So I was lucky enough to do some work with Walsh Canada doing the Toronto Spadina subway expansion project. When that job wrapped up, I then ended up talking to Walsh Construction and didn't realize that they're actually a Chicago-based company. And they were kind enough to offer me a position in Chicago. I came to Chicago, and then I realized that was when I was told that to be a technical engineer in Chicago, you needed to join the union. And so I was lucky enough to get into union. I met a lot of folks there. I met some really smart, interesting people there, and showed a lot of interest in being part of the union. Then a position arose for a coordinator, and I was lucky enough to be considered for that position. And that happened about 4 years ago, and here I am today. I guess the moral of that story is, if you have your skill sets set and ready to go, and you know what you're doing, when the opportunity arises, and it will arise, you should jump on that chance and take that opportunity.
You know, that's a really interesting story, Paul. I never heard you tell that before, so I didn't really realize how you kind of traveled around in your particular trade. And that's something that, you know, I think a lot of folks who might be listening don't really understand, is there's a lot of opportunities for advancement and traveling within the construction trades, because sometimes the economy maybe locally might not be as good, so you might have to go to other areas of the state or even of the country, or there's opportunities to go to other areas of the countries because you got a skill set that you know, you learn while being in the trade. So that was a great background. I appreciate you know, you telling us that story. So let's kind of talk about what a technical engineer is. I mean, you kind of briefly mentioned a little bit about surveying, but it's a little bit more than that. And maybe tell us why the job of a technical engineer or a survey is so important.
Okay, so we talk about the job and the career. I guess the official answer for what we do, if you look at our website, it says that the Technical Engineering Division of Local 130 United Association has been providing horizontal and vertical control points to general contractors and multiple trades on construction sites in Chicagoland, including the Collar counties and Northwest Indiana as well. And we've been organized since 1962, okay? But I probably prefer to translate this into something that someone can actually understand. So let's go back to the Lego analogy that I talked about, because I believe that does a pretty good job of explaining it. All you have to do is imagine that every single construction project is a Lego kit, okay? So what a technical engineer does is they will read those instructions and they will help the other trades put it all together. Every single brick has its proper spot in the project, and the technical engineers will make sure that everything is located where it's supposed to be. At Local 130, our work tends to focus on residential, low, mid, and high rise, commercial construction, and heavy civil as well. So just think of roads, bridges, rails, factories, etc. However, in Northwest Indiana, a lot of our work tends to also be mill work, which is just basically high precision layout and as-built surveys. And just to talk more about our jurisdiction, so the areas that we can work, the technical engineers of UA Local 130, our jurisdiction covers the counties of Cook, DuPage, and Lake County for Illinois. For Northwest Indiana, our territories include Lake, Porter, LaPorte, Newton, and Jasper counties. And we also have an agreement with the Michiana Builders Association to cover Pulaski, St. Joseph, and Stark counties within the Michiana Builders jurisdiction. So, you know, there is a lot of room to move around just within the Midwest. But if you're lucky enough to get opportunities anywhere else in the world, you can certainly handle them.
So you kind of explained a little bit of, you know, the type of work you do. How about, how do you get into the program? I know you guys have an apprenticeship program, and it's been kind of a weird year, you know, with the pandemic, and I just don't really know how you guys are doing it, but I know what some of the other trades are doing it. Can you tell us a little bit about your apprenticeship program, whether you're taking applications or when you plan on taking applications next, and maybe talk a little bit about the program structure?
Sure, not a problem. Okay, so let's talk about the apprenticeship program first. The Tech Engineers of 130 are a unique local in that we are the only layout engineers affiliated with the United Association. So the United Association is an international union that generally supports plumbers, pipe fitters, technicians as well. So we are extremely lucky to even be associated with that international, because they don't typically take on layout engineers. Now, layout engineers will generally be affiliated with operators unions or carpenters or electrical unions on the East or the West Coast, but in the Midwest, we are with the UA. Now, by being a part of the UA, we have over 300,000 international brothers and sisters who support our work. And there is a reason why I'm telling you about our international union. It's because we are a very small division with only around 200 active members at any one time. Our program is designed to be extremely surgical in how we accept our candidates. The construction industry in Chicago, for construction surveyors anyway, tends to have a need for new apprentices every 2 years. Now, these successful applicants need to offer something more than just 4 limbs and a warm body, okay? In general, with an acceptance rate of less than 10% for all our applicants, even the superstars out there with an excellent educational track record may have difficulty gaining position in our program, okay? The eight apprentices that we took in for 2020 all demonstrated excellent motivation. They have well-rounded soft life skills, and they have previous laboring or construction experience. Some of them have already completed a pre-apprenticeship certification even before applying. I believe Dana did a pre-apprenticeship certification before she was accepted. All our apprentices ended up acing the aptitude exam. Now, how do you teach aptitude? That's not an easy feat in itself. Aptitude and discretion is probably a byproduct of good judgment. Good judgment comes from life experience. I guess the point I'm trying to get at is, to be a successful engineer into the program, you need to have life experience combined with a passion for complex problem solving. We can teach you guys how to solve traditional construction obstacles, but you will need to draw on your own life experiences from the past whilst trying to absorb as much knowledge being taught today so that you can offer your contractor the most cost-effective solutions for the problems that come up. So if we talk more about the program, once you are accepted into the program, you will do a 3-week boot camp, which will then prepare you for the career. After you've completed boot camp, you will then attend day school at the JAC for 2 days a month whilst working for your contractor full-time. When you guys are coming in for day school, the academic program focuses heavily on survey computations, CAD detailing, and learning new new industry technologies as well. Our apprentices will also complete their certified survey technician certification through to level 4 throughout the program as well. This certification is an accreditation that is recognized and put through by the National Society of Professional Surveyors. I hope by now you guys are starting to understand that the term technical engineer, surveyor, construction surveyor are all interchangeable for this career, okay? So in total, it is a 5-year apprenticeship program. On top of being an exemplary employee for our contractors, all our apprentices are expected to attend all their classes. They're expected to attend all the union meetings when they're on. Right now, they're not on because of the pandemic. Excuse me. And they're also expected to assist in union duties. We have political actions that we try to support our political candidates for. We also have days where we do Building America, where our apprentices are expected to go out there and work for a day on a Saturday and help rehab some of these rundown residences that people live in. Now, our union, part of being a good apprentice means that you need to be active within the union, because our union doesn't work without the support and time of its members. Our apprentices need to demonstrate an excellent work ethic. They need to have punctuality, and they need to have a lot of respect for their brothers and sisters in the industry. This is basically a career that is going to take up most of your time for 5 years when you enter this apprenticeship program. Now, if we want to talk about taking the applications and whether we're accepting them, we will not, at this stage, it's highly unlikely that we will take applications for 2021. Our next intake for apprentices is intended for 2022, and that will most likely happen in January. So we will be advertising that the program is opening for applications in December of 2021 this year. For up-to-date apprenticeship program information, applicants can send an email to applytechengineer@jac130.org. Kevin, we'll make sure that email is put out to everybody. And when the program does begin accepting applicants in 2022, you will need to meet the following qualifications in order to get in. So first off, our candidates need to read, write, and speak the English language fluently. They must have a high school diploma or a GED equivalent. They must pass an aptitude test. Excuse me. They also must pass a drug screening, and that includes marijuana. They need to pass a physical exam, which is also going to be an agility test as well. Our applicants are required to possess a valid driver's license, and they must possess their own vehicle in order to get themselves to class and to their job sites as well. Applicants also need to be a minimum of 18 years old, or they are allowed to be 17 years old when they apply, as long as they are 18 by the time the program starts. High school seniors are allowed to apply for the program, but they must submit a letter from their high school stating that they are on track to graduate and including transcripts to date as well. So that's if you're a high school senior. Now, when these candidates do apply for the program in itself, what they must present at the application time is the completed application form. We'll also need a copy of their valid driver's license. We'll need a copy of their birth certificate or a valid US passport. They must also show proof of completion of high school in one of these formats. It can either be their high school diploma or an official high school transcript or a GED certificate or a college diploma with transcripts or a veteran's DD-214. That, along with a $30 application fee, is all that is required to apply. Now, once the candidate does apply, at the time they will be given a test date and a time. If you are successfully ranked by a combination of the aptitude exam, your work experience, and a letter of recommendation, you will then be offered a position as a first-year apprentice, and you will commence your training at the JAC, and we will place you with a contractor. So hopefully, Kevin, that covers any questions you might have about applying for the program.
That covered basically anything I would have to ask you, other than one thing. I want to dive deeper into the aptitude test. Can you give us a little insight of what might be on that aptitude test? I know, some people might have a little anxiety of taking tests, or they might maybe struggle on math, so they might want to know what kind of math courses to take, or maybe what they could take in high school to help them prepare to pass the aptitude test for the tech engineers.
Yeah, so as far as like any units you want to pick up in high school, I've always found that math, you definitely want to have some strong math skills. Algebra, geometry, trigonometry, that's always excellent. Strong English skills as well, because you do a lot of communicating. And even things like physical education. A lot of people might come back to me and say, well, why do I need to take on physical education if you're only worried about how smart I am? The reality is you are going to be working hard out there in the field. So you'll be running up and down stairs all day. You could be going up and down ladders. You could be crawling into tight spaces to take measurements, etc. So you need to keep yourself in good peak physical condition. And if you treat your body well, then I'm sure your mind will be treated well as well. Okay. Now, sorry, Kevin, what else were you saying? The aptitude exam, sorry. Yes.
On the actual test, what are some of the problems like somebody might face?
Okay, so I'm actually
like
not,
algebra? Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, so it's more like a general knowledge test, but I, as a rule, am not allowed to know what's in the exam, because generally what happens, if I know what's in the exam, I'll find myself inadvertently and not on purpose, maybe trying to give hints to someone because I like them. So I kind of make it a rule to not know what is in the exam. And in fact, when they do the exam, I am nowhere in the facility. I make sure I'm not anywhere around so that I'm not offering any extra guidance to anyone. But how to prepare for this? As part of the application process, when you do apply for the program, you can purchase the aptitude exam test tip booklet. I believe it's $15 or it could be $20, but I highly recommend you purchase that booklet from the examiner when we apply. We can give it to you then and there. And I've found that everybody who does study that booklet I find that everybody that gets through on the program gives me the same answer that they studied through the booklet as well. So unfortunately, the best answer I can give you to preparing for that aptitude exam is to purchase the booklet.
Okay, and then so is your selection process based strictly off that, or is there an interview process as well? Once you take the once you hand in your application, take the aptitude test, I imagine there's an interview process. Are you
the interview
as well?
No, well, the interview doesn't actually happen until we've placed you with a contractor. So we do meet all the prospective candidates for the program face-to-face. You can consider that an interview, but at the same time, as long as everybody meets all the same criteria, you'll all score the same amount of points. So if we are going to recap how the experience is going to look, if we're going forward today, so what you want to do is you want to make sure you meet all the qualifications that we've talked about so far. You want to make sure that you're ready to apply for the program in January 2022. Also, to be successful, you want to make sure you score high enough on the aptitude exam. Some other good tips as well is it's excellent if you have prior construction experience, or if you don't have the ability to get prior construction experience, because a lot of our folks could be a lot younger. Consider completing a pre-apprenticeship certification. There is plenty of trade colleges out there that do pre-apprenticeship certifications. They're generally anything from 8 to 12 weeks, and they're an excellent way to figure out whether or not it's something that you want to do. Another thing that you can do to make sure you're more successful in the application process is to present a letter of recommendation from an upstanding member of our community. This can be an educator, civil servants, politicians, business owners, leaders, community faith leaders, etc. Okay, a letter of recommendation is always highly regarded, and in a lot of ways, we consider that part of the interview because someone else is vouching for you. And I will highly stress that you should definitely get that letter of recommendation because everybody else is going to get it. And if you cannot obtain a letter of recommendation, I don't want to be mean or anything, but I'm going to say that the program is highly likely not for you. Okay. We then take all this information that we've collaborated so far, and it's collaborated by a third-party proctoring service. These are the same folks who administer the aptitude exam, and they will then produce the final ranking list. The final ranking list comes to us, and then we are then required to select the top applicants in the order of the ranking. So that is probably the most in-depth method to get into the program.
That was very concise and clear. It makes perfect sense. So you had mentioned earlier that it's a 5-year program, and you talked a little bit about the structure, but can you talk about how your pay increases throughout the program, and also talk maybe a little bit about your benefit package, because I know all the trades offer some sort of retirement benefit and health and welfare benefit. Can you talk a little bit about that and how it complements your wage package?
Yeah, of course. Okay, so let's talk about, everyone wants to know what the final goal is. Okay, so let's talk about what a full journey person makes. So a full journey person scale in Chicago is $49.10. It's a little bit less in Northwest Indiana. It's $42.75. Okay, and that's just because of the difference in cost of living. Now, if you live in Northwest Indiana, it doesn't mean you can't come work for us in Chicago. Okay, I would say close to 60, I want to say at least 50% of the engineers in Local 130 actually reside in Northwest Indiana, and they make the trip over the border every single day to come work in Chicago. Even though it costs them a little bit more in gas, they do make a little bit more money per hour, and there's a lot more high-rise and heavy civil work in Chicago. So that's where we find a lot of our need. Okay, so that's what you're going to make as a journey person. However, what does it look like when you're a first-year apprentice? So in Northwest Indiana, a first-year apprentice would start on $16.25. In Chicago, if we manage to move you over the border and have you working in Chicago, first year apprentice starts at $18.65. And as you progress each year, your wage will steadily increase to journey person. So if I'm going to look at just Indiana, second year apprentice makes $20.95, third year apprentice makes $26.10, fourth year apprentice makes $31.65, and a fifth year apprentice will see $38.05. Now, I don't like to get caught up too much in the nuances of the penalty rates and the overtime, because everybody's situation is going to be unique and different. I think our business manager, Jim Coyne, said it best when he stated that our contractors and our union expect 8 hours work for 8 hours pay. The only caveat to that we look at is if you're not at your job site 15 minutes before you start, then you're probably late to your job site, okay? And if we're going to talk a little bit about other benefits such as health insurance and employee retirement benefits, this is really where the power of organizing really shines through. I mentioned earlier that we're only a small local with 200 active members and nearly 200 retirees that we pay retirement benefits for. It's because of our sound leadership and these tough business decisions that we've had to make that we're able to support all our members into their golden years and ensure that they're all able to retire with dignity, okay? If we're going to talk about our health benefits, we could easily call our health benefits a Cadillac insurance plan. You know, a lot of our members realize that a healthy paycheck is awesome to see every week, but that's not everything. Our health, our vision, and our dental insurance will make sure that your family is taken care of as well. We just opened a wellness center in Lamont for our members, and they all pay zero copay for when they use our state-of-the-art facility. And especially in these times, in the middle of a pandemic, as we're living through this, Local 130 is making sure that all our members are considered essential personnel to protect their earning ability so they can still be out there working while doing everything we can do to make sure our members are able to get vaccinated as soon as humanely possible. So, you know, I do believe that we have good benefits and we do have good health perks as well.
Excellent. You know, we talked to other trades and they all offer some sort of similar package that you just mentioned, but you by far gave the best explanation. So thank you for that.
Oh, thanks, Greg.
I'm going to go ahead and turn this over to a first-year apprentice who's joining us. Her name is Dana Wennerberg. I think Dana got into the program last year when you had open applications, and I think you're joining us from the job site today. Is that correct, Dana?
That is correct. I'm out here in Aurora. We're working on a tollway project, building a maintenance facility for trucks. Okay. It's a big maintenance facility and a truck wash and a salt barn. So really exciting.
Very cool. Very cool. So can you tell us a little bit about your background and how you got into the technical engineers?
Yeah, for sure. My background is a little all over the place. Not quite like Paul's. His seemed a bit linear. Now that I think about it, when I was a kid, I always wanted to be an engineer. I always liked working with my hands. But I went to college at U of I. Luckily, I was lucky enough to go to college, and I graduated with a bachelor's in science and economics. And the reason why I didn't study engineering is because calculus kicked my butt. And I was really good at econ, so I decided, hey, I'm gonna get my degree in econ because I enjoy the classes. But I didn't think about what I wanted to do after I graduated, which is very important to do. I wish I would have sat down with an advisor or something, but I decided to study that. And then after my degree, I joined the Peace Corps and I served as an agriculture volunteer in West Africa, Senegal. Very hands-on, awesome work. And when I came home, I got a job as an academic advisor and experiential learning coordinator. I was in academia for a couple years, and it was just really unsatisfying. I wasn't enjoying the work that I was doing. So I knew I wanted to make a change, but I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. So I decided to move back to Chicago because that job was in a different state. I moved back to Chicago and I took a job as a delivery driver briefly to figure out what am I going to do. And then I thought about the trades, and luckily enough, I have a couple family members in the trades. My mom was an electrician, and my sister is a plumber currently. And so she recommended that I do this pre-apprenticeship program with CWIT, Chicago Women in Trades. They have a technical opportunities program for women to help them learn a little bit about each trade and then see which one works best for them. So I went through that program. I kind of liked them all, so I was still struggling. But then my sister let me know that 130 was starting, their application was open for technical engineers, and I looked more into it. And I thought, this is something that I could really enjoy. Why not go ahead and apply and see what happens? So that's how I got here.
So you applied, got in. Now, how was the application process? Did you find it daunting, or was it just just fill out an application, have a little interview, and got a call that you were accepted? What was the process? Were you ever nervous about not getting in, or?
Yeah, I was a little nervous. CWIT, Chicago Women in Trades, helps you through it. So they prepare you for like anything. Like they give you the test study guides that Paul said are for sale. They help you out with all that material. So they just help out a lot. And I actually went back and looked at all the dates because I wanted to make sure I remembered, you know, even though it wasn't a year ago that I applied, I wanted to make sure everything was up to date in my mind. So it was actually a really quick process, which I was really impressed at. I think I applied in June and was given a time to take the aptitude exam the following week. And so I sat for the exam, which I had studied for, and it was fine. Some reading comprehension, math questions, and then mechanical reasoning type questions. And then I think the following week I was contacted saying that I was accepted into the program. And then the week after that we started. So it was a pretty quick turnaround, and we did, like Paul said, we had 3 weeks of training. The first week was with the plumbers, and it was OSHA. So we all have our certification in OSHA 30. And then the 2 following weeks were just to learn the nuts and bolts of surveying, because if we went on a job site first day and didn't know anything, we really wouldn't be that useful. So that 2 weeks is very important, because my first day on the job with my current company, I could actually set up the instrument and do it all myself. So I was really happy that I could do that.
So did you didn't have a job with a contractor before going into the program? Did the tech engineers help you find that contractor, or how did you get placed with your current employer?
Yeah, so during the boot camp, Paul scheduled interviews with potential employers, and it was our responsibility to reach out to them and find a time where we could do an interview. Some of them were virtual. For this one, I had to go into their office, and Paul was super helpful, because I was a little nervous going into the interview. I called him to ask him if I should wear a suit jacket and everything. Should I dress up, or should I look like I'm going on the job? And he gave good advice, to always look professional. That never hurts, So I went in and I applied. I interviewed, a really brief interview, and then got the job.
So now that you have almost a year in, what are your thoughts on that? Do you think you made the right career choice? And on top of that, what are your favorite aspects of working in the construction trade?
I do really enjoy it. I feel like, so my experience is a little different, because Paul was explaining that technical engineers provide control to general contractors. So they go out and to the job site, usually before any building has happened, like any construction, and they say like, this point is this northing, this easting, like this is the location. So then when people come on to start the construction, they know where they're supposed to work, that the building is put up in the right spot, basically. But I work for a general contractor, so a lot of the times I might be working hand in hand with the carpenters that we employ and help them find the correct elevation for the finished floor, or like do grading. And then a lot of it is also quality assurance or quality control, not quality insurance. I'm still trying to figure out the difference. But so I do a lot of as-built, which means I'm shooting with the instrument the location of things that have already been built, just to make sure that they are accurate and they are in the right spot. So I really enjoy it because I get to transfer the information that I shoot out in the field and bring it into the computer, into the software. So I like seeing everything like round circle.
Are you the only technical engineer on your job site right now, or are you working with another journeyman, or is there somebody to help mentor you through the process?
Yeah, so there is another technical engineer on the job site. He is actually the quality control manager, and he doesn't do much surveying work. So, but he's there in case, I need help to figure out what I'm doing, kind of thing. But he has a lot like higher duties now. He climbed the ladder and is almost basically a superintendent.
Now, how about like working with the instruments? Did you have any problem adapting to that kind of technology? Or did it come pretty naturally to you just because of your use with computers and things like that? I know that could be, I used to work for Superior Construction. We used to do road jobs. And when I first got in, like everybody was doing the calculations on hand and everything. Now everything's kind of went to more technology. Are you learning how to do those hand calculations, or are you kind of more relying on the instruments these days?
Well, Paul definitely made us learn how to do the hand calculations, which I'm probably going to be thankful for. But we do some like smaller hand calculations out in the field. Like if we're not using the total station, but just using the automatic level, to do like a height transfer, you'll have to do some like minor math right there. But it all came pretty naturally. I like how similar it is to, or not similar, but it reminds me of childhood, like reading maps as a kid before GPS. So like I am young, but maps were still a thing when I was a kid. And it also kind of reminds me of bird watching, looking through the gun sight, the eyesight.
Yeah.
So
very cool. Well, before I get back to Paul, I got just one more question. Do you have any advice you would give to somebody who is, just kind of finishing their high school career and interested in getting not only into a trade, but any career? Is there any career advice you'd like to give just to help mentor some of these students as they look forward to what they might be doing in the future? Yeah,
no, definitely. I would say don't discount the trades as a valid career option. It's a great career path, and there's plenty of different things that you can do. Whichever trade you choose, you can climb the ladder. A lot of people are scared that they're going to be working their bodies to death and working with the tools their whole life. And some people do, and some people want to do that. But you can also get into management and have lifelong great careers that don't hurt your body. So it's satisfying work. I feel like at the end of every day, I am not stressed out. And I know that's because I'm probably a first year. There's not much stress that I could have, but I'm always satisfied at the end of the day. And then also the great benefits. Like I don't have to worry when I retire about having enough saved up. Like the pension plan is great. the health benefits. Like I don't have to, if I have to go to the emergency room, I don't have to worry about being in debt for it.
Yeah.
So it's great.
Dana, thank you so much for that insight. And it was really interesting to hear your story. You know, I'm very inspired by, you know, your career path, and I wish you all the success in the world. So thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you.
So Paul, yeah, I really, you did a very thorough job of, you know, answering all my questions. And, you know, I had some other questions that I was thinking about asking you, but you even answered them in your answers. So I really don't have much else for you other than, how about you? Is there any advice that you'd like to give?
Yeah, I guess like if we wanted to talk about specifically what type of characteristics or qualities we look for in an applicant, it's a pretty typical list of characteristics that we like to see. You know, it's strong work ethic, problem-solving skills, strong communication skills, and an interest in detailing things through CAD. If you enjoy working hard and getting dirty whilst using your brain all day long, then you should definitely consider becoming a technical engineer. You know, and then if we want to talk about some of the expectations that these contractors have when they hire a tradesperson on their construction project, I'm sure Dana's been exposed to this, but as a first-year apprentice, it's important, and what you want to do is zip your mouth closed and learn how to follow instructions. You know, a first-year apprentice is there to learn. Okay, that's what we want you there for. You should be using that unique opportunity that you've been given and take advantage of all the collective knowledge being offered to you. I'm not sure how every other journey person is out there, but I know that if I have an apprentice, then it's personal to me. Okay, I need to make sure I can transfer as much knowledge to them as possible so that they can be successful in their career, and that normally means they have to keep their mouths shut. So, you know, like a good apprentice will ask questions when they're unsure how to do a task. A great apprentice will anticipate the requirements for the task before they're even asked. And an excellent apprentice will be an apprentice who's going to take home the construction plans, study them on the weekend. They'll do their own independent research on whether there is a better methodology to achieve the results that we need. An excellent apprentice will then seek out new skills which they believe can make them a better tech. Maybe there's some skills that we don't offer for training. That's what an excellent apprentice will do. They will go out there and seek that stuff on their own. If you can do all those things, then you will probably make an excellent apprentice in any of the trades.
Thank you, Paul. That was great interview. I really appreciate all the information. It was very informative, very insightful. I just want to let everybody know that on the screen, we have a couple links, and you can find out more information on the Technical Engineers Apprenticeship Program by visiting that link. But I should also let you know that, you know, they're part of the Northwest Indiana Building Trades. So if you go to the We Build Northwest Indiana website, which I mean, I could share with you real quick here. Let me figure this out. Share screen. So another way to kind of get to the Tech Engineers page is you could go under Trade Careers, and there's a list of all the different careers there. You can click on Technical Engineers. It talks a little bit about their program, tells the details. It says, you know, 5-year, where to apply. And then if you go down here at on the right hand at the bottom here, it'll take you right to their page. So, and then Paul definitely always gives me the information when they're taking applications. So I'll also put that link on there. But definitely keep an eye out, especially as you get towards December, January of next year, when they're going to take a new group of apprentices, to kind of keep an eye on this page, and then you'll find the application information. So Paul, anything else that you want to share?
No, other than thank you to you guys for inviting us out here. Thanks to you, Kevin, Aaron, and Barb as well. And especially big thanks to Dana for taking time out of her busy work schedule to be able to be interviewed today. And it's always a pleasure. I do enjoy always going down to Northwest Indiana, any opportunity I can get. And the reality is we need more folks from Northwest Indiana to come work for us, okay? As it stands right now, we do have a lot of Indiana residents who do make it across the border, do some work, but we don't have too many Northwest Indiana apprentices, okay? The only caveat on that, guys, is if you are successful in applying for the program and you are from Northwest Indiana, you will have to make the trek out to Chicago for all your training, because that's where our school is located in the West Loop, which is basically downtown Chicago.
Well, thank you, Paul. And then I also want to thank, like I said, the Center of Workforce Innovations. We also have a link on this closing screen. So if you need to brush up on some of your math skills, they have adult learning centers where you could get instruction on some of those educational courses that may help you pass the aptitudes for some of the tests. But as Paul said, you know, there's a booklet that kind of helps you, you know, pass the aptitude test for the tech engineers. So if you do apply and you do make it through the application process, make sure you pick up one of those workbooks. So thanks again, Paul. A lot of great information, like I said, and I appreciate your time.
Thank you so much, Kev. And hopefully we can do this again soon. Thanks to
it's been a long time since we actually met face to face. So I'm looking forward to our next meeting together. It's always a joy.
Thank you, everybody.